Today we are painting this awesome polar bear. Let's go. Here we go. So I have about a 1-inch flat brush and then all the primary colors plus black and white. I'm starting with yellow to just create the outline for our polar bear. So I'm going to go about a hand from the top and just put a little dot. And then I'm going to go maybe 2 fingers from the bottom, put a little dot. This is roughly in the middle. Remember, we're just dealing with rough estimations. Then I'm going to take this, it's going to be narrow at the top and it's going to get wider until about 2/3 the way down, and then we'll go into a smile. So I'm going to go wide and then swoop. Now our polar bears turn to the side slightly, so this side I'm going to make a little bit wider and then swoop, just like that. What would you call that? I don't know, pick a name. Then the nose starts about right in the middle, so we can go about halfway. And then again, because he's turned sideways, we want the nose to be to the side. So I'll start by creating a curve over here, and then the nose gets, it's a big wide nose, but it still gets more narrow towards the bottom. And that's all we need for now to save the basic shape. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and just right above here, we're gonna create that long, the bottom of the hat, this part, the fuzzy white part. So I'm gonna go swooping motion. Let me go about halfway between this side, roughly, and about halfway between this side, roughly, just like that. There we go. The great thing about yellow is if you want to change anything later, you can, because we're just going to paint right over it. I'm going to bring this up, maybe 1.5 inches, and we'll create that band. Okay, now over here on this side, where we're going to see more of the bear, we're going to kind of follow the line of the hat. We're going to bring it over, and then we're going to come down, and we'll just curve gently out right off the side. Then right over here, we can create a little ear. So cute. Now to help give shape to the face, we're going to go right where, so the mouth will go kind of right here. We'll worry about that later. But about equal to the mouth, I'm going to create just kind of a circular shape. And then right to the side of that, I'm going to go under the hat, come into that shape. And then once I get right where the cheek is, then we'll start going back out. This is a big polar bear. Let's go ahead and add a big ball down here. Just like this. Now on this edge of the hat, I'm going to bring it little past halfway, almost to line up with the nose. Just like that. And then over on this side, I want to swoop it across because the hat's just laying on his head. And we're going to come all the way over, and then I'll just curve down. And it's going to go kind of around to the top of that ball. Nice swooping motion. Now right here, we're going to tuck in another little ear over here. About the same size. Now, top of the ball, we'll bring it back over, just like that. Boom, you're done with your outline. Okay, so to create the background, this is going to be really fun. I'm going to start with the yellow, and we're going to create a sunshine over here, kind of behind the ear, starting with plain yellow. Maybe yay big. Now I'm going to work in a little bit of white. And when I work in the white, I don't want it to blend completely. Let me come on in close. See how my lines, you can still see the variety of lines. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of red at a time into the yellow to make an orange color. And the reason I do that is because red is more powerful than yellow. And so then I can control how dark that gets. And I'm going to go around that sun, determining how big I want the sun to be. Go ahead and paint the outside edges of your canvas. Now with this orange, we're also going to go through, and we're just going to do some swooshes. So these swooshes kind of have a little curve to them. You can put them anywhere you like. I'm going to add them to both sides. Swoosh, swoosh. So it's just kind of a beautiful background, impressionist background. Not quite a pattern. It's a little loosey-goosey than a pattern. Just adding swooshes. Notice how each of them just have a gentle curve. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'd like to add some yellows in there too. So before my brush gets too dark, I'm gonna take some yellows. And I'll just add some yellow swooshes in there. Go ahead and go over the canvas. I'm gonna make these yellow swooshes just a little bit smaller. There we go. And now let's go ahead and go back to that red. We can make a darker orange. So I'm mixing the red with the previous orange or some yellow. And again, feel free to overlap some of your swooshes. This is just your background, friends. Don't want to spend too much time working the background. Now you are watching this on a video, so if at any time I'm going too fast, just push pause. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Just pause it. Okay. So going around the edges. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and mix in a tiny bit of blue with our red. So now we're getting into the purple family. And we'll just do a few more swooshes. I'm going to put these swooshes away from the sunshine. Just bring in a little bit of dark. Excellent. And by transitioning to that purple, now I can transition into blue. So I'm still using the same brush, but I'm going to pick up some blue and I'll mix in a little bit of white with the blue. And I'm going to do a few more swooshes. And again, this isn't a pattern. It doesn't have to be balanced. It could be wherever you want. Right now, I'm just looking for any place that has a lot of space. And I'm going to fill those areas in with the blue. Feel free to overlap them if you want, although be careful because blue and orange make brown. And that's just not what we're going for here. It's a beautiful brown, but it's not what we're going for here. Awesome. Maybe a little bit of blue up here. This can be anywhere you want. Awesome. We have this blue on our brush. We're going to go ahead and start making some shadows on our polar bear. So over here, I want to create some shadows. Now this whole painting is about these swooshing lines, very loose swooshing lines. So go ahead and do some loose blue swooshes right underneath the hat. Go ahead and do some loose blue swooshes. Let's create an eye. This is more like the eye socket. Right? We're just creating shadows. Don't overthink it. Go around the outside edge of that shape that we created, the cheek. Swooshing lines, just whoosh. When I say swoosh, I'm kind of windshield wipering, just pivoting on my wrist. I'm going to go around his big snout here. And when I go around his snout, the direction of your swooshes is the direction of the fur of this polar bear. The swooshes is what helps it makes look so soft, right? So I want to kind of go swooshing in the direction of that the hair is flowing. Let's go ahead and we'll do an eye socket over here as well. So we have one here, one here. We'll get more to that later. Go ahead and bring some blue in here. Now this blue is the blue we were using outside, so it's mixed with a little bit of white. Let's put a little bit on the inside of this ear. Awesome. And then let's go underneath that snout because that's going to be really in the shade a lot. So just let's bring some swooshes through here. Swoosh, swoosh. Just a bunch of little swooshes that are going the direction of the fur. Think about what direction that fur is going. And when in doubt, if you're not sure where it's going away from the nostrils. If you have a dog or a cat, think of what direction their fur is going. So swooshing away, swooshing away. Let's see, do we have enough blue yet? I'm going to give them kind of the effect of a shoulder here, so I'm going to stop there so that can be a little bit brighter. Okay. Mixing in a tiny bit of red with our blue. to get that purple color back that we had. But we want this purple to be kind of in the blue family, okay? So you can even use the purple that you've mixed before if you have some left and mix it in with the blue. I want to go over the deepest parts of my shadows. So right underneath the hat. Again, swooshing lines, but not taking up as much space. They're overlapping. It's on the edge of my first swooshes, and it's just right underneath the edge of the hat. The very inside of the ears, that's going to be darker. Very inside of this ear. Now we're going to take that same purple, just a little bit, kind of swooshing around the edges. See how I'm leaving most of the blue there? I'm just depositing a little bit of paint. Now underneath the chin, that is one place that's going to get pretty darn dark. So let's go ahead and put some of that purple under there. Just kind of filling it in. Nice. Just like that. Maybe on the edge of the snout, but just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And then, you know, I realized I didn't give any shadow to his snout. So let's go back to that blue color. It's okay that we have some purple in our brush. And we're just going to go underneath the nose. Because really, underneath the nose will also be in the shadow. And then we're going to start creating that mouth here. So underneath where the mouth will be is also in the shadow. Exactly. I think I'd like to use the same color to just create a little bit of fuzziness and depth going into this hat. So I'll just go back and forth a little bit on the hat. And then let's make this a swirl. I think that would be cool. So just a little swirl action. Oops, my paintbrush is running dry. I can tell because it started getting a little choppy. So just kind of swirl a little bit. We'll come back to all these areas later. Okay, using this blue brush, we're going to dip it in white, and we're just going to kind of go around most of the polar bear. So start with those spaces. So yes, because you have that purple and that blue already on there, there should be a little bit of purple blue coming off on your brush. So I'm just going to create the texture of the fur, going around the places, like around the shadows that we created, going up the sides. Let's go down the back. Notice how each time you run out of paint, it gets a little bit darker because we already have the dark color on your brush. That's great. That's going to give it this dimension. So I keep dipping it in pure white, and I'm going kind of the direction of fur, making them fluffy. This is pretty thick paint over here. We're not worried about it drying quickly, but we are worried about texture. We want texture. Again, I said we're going to kind of make this like the effect of a shoulder. So over here, we'll just kind of go around, right? Around. Go ahead and paint the side of your paintbrush or your canvas, side of your canvas. And then I'm going to go through these shadows, kind of up. Now this is dried rather quickly, so I might come through there with a little bit more dark just in a second here. Bringing that hair around. We do want to make sure that when we get to the edge, we kind of swoop it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to pause right here for two reasons. One, I noticed that I'm losing some of my darkness in here that I wanted to keep. So I'm going to go back to that kind of purple and blue, maybe even a new purple blue color. And I'm just going to kind of go over it again so I don't lose those colors because we want it to be darker in the shadow. And then two, I'm noticing on the edge that I don't really feel like I'm done with my background yet. And I really have to be done to put the hair on top. So let's pause this, grab a different brush, leave this brush to the side. I'm going to go now for a round brush. And on this round brush, I want to use just black. I'm going to take the black and I want to create the lines between my swooshes. And they're going to go right up to my polar bears. And we want to do this. This is why we're pausing and starting this section over, because I want to do this before the hair goes on top, so the hair can literally lay on top. So with our black, I want you to keep a couple things in mind. This is to kind of create some depth on your background. I'm weaving in little wisps of black, but I'm using a smaller brush because I don't want as much. And I'm weaving them in between my colors. But I want to use more black in the bottom corner that's away from the sun and very, very tiny amounts as I get close to the sun. So just very tiny wisps over here, more over there. Let's just kind of weave in some black over here. There's nothing special about these lines. They're just kind of filling in the space. And even if the space is all filled in, I can create some lines in between my swooshes. Some of my colors are still quite wet, and they're blending together. I think that's great. There we go. All right, let's set you back here so I can finish. Just little bits of black, covering any white spots that were left. If you had no white spots left and you want to add black, do it. This could be a fun Christmas painting. Again, I'm going to kind of let it be over here, like the tiniest bits. I don't want it to get super dark near the sun. Or maybe it's a moon. Your choice. You are in control. It's your canvas. There. I like that. Okay, back to the fur. This brush I also want to save because we're going to use it for black for the eyes. So I'm going to just set it to the side. Don't need to wash it quite yet because it won't take that long. Now I'm going back to my white. Let's go ahead and start with the nostril or the snout because it's farthest away from that black that needs to dry. And I'm going to kind of swoosh from the inside towards the outside, just using white. But again, we just had blue on our brush, so there'll be a little hint of blue in there. And remember, the center is off center. The center lines up with the center of the nose. And at the center, we're going to kind of just curve it towards the outside. Lots of white, 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 white. Nice. Uh-oh, I picked up some yellow on my palette. I was going to do that later, but apparently there's a little bit now, and that's okay. Now it's going to follow around the snout. Again, this dried pretty quickly, so I might need to add more color. We're going to find out here. And I'm going to go around this side, but I will go ahead first with the white on my brush, finish off the chin, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. I don't mind this shadow so much, but I want a little bit more there. So I'm going to pick up my blue, my purple. That way it's just a little more cohesive. Yeah, just seems to blend a little bit better. Again, short choppy motions, not trying to truly blend anything. Oops, I said I liked it and I went over it and I shouldn't have done that. It's going to be darkest, so that's that purple right underneath the nose. Now, I want you to imagine, because they have that kind of seam right there at the bottom of the nose for the mouth to split on each side of the cheek. So I'm going to kind of wisp in each direction from there. It's not whiskers, it's the turning of the fur. I don't know if bears have whiskers. I don't believe they do. I'll have to look that up later. Continuing with my white. Oh, now I have that blue on my brush again, so it's going to show up ever so light blue. Again, that's okay. Let's see if we can go over the edges like we were talking about, but now it's going on top of the black. If your background is not completely dry, you can either take a break and let it dry, or don't worry about it. Let those colors blend in just a little bit. You might be in for some really great surprises. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, before we do the ear is behind the head, or this part of the head, and so we want to do the ear first. So I'm going to go ahead and take my white, and I'm just whisking it around. Fairly thick paint here. Oops, let me get more white. Love it. Making sure I can still see what's coming close for the ear. See how you can still see some variations? But I'm going to go ahead and bring in that dark blue. I'm even going to bring in a tiny bit of black to make the inside of the ear darker again, because I lost a little bit of it. At least part of the hat. So let's go ahead and fill in this top area. Let's fill in the rest of this polar bear. Then we're going to save this brush again. I'm looking at the eyeballs again. So let's get that light blue, maybe with a touch of purple in it. And let's go ahead and focus on this space over here behind the snout. So I'm going to build up that space again, because some of it was covered by the snout. Kind of bringing around that shadow, quick little choppy lines. And then I want to create where the eye is going to be. So my eye is right about here. I'm just going to fill that in with that light bluish purple. And then I want to do the same thing on this side so that they match. That one is a little bit closer to the snout. This one is a little bit farther away. Go ahead and if you want to pull that through at all. Okay, now we have some purple in our brush again. We can go for it. So again, just kind of filling in our polar bear, short choppy motions, using the white, thinking about which direction the fur is going. You might pick up a tiny bit of black or gray, but it's not the same as having all that black on your brush. Following the edge of the hat, leave some of those shadows. You can always put a second layer in the shadow. I'm actually going to blend in the very top, so it's not like such a distinct like clump where the snout is. So I'm just going to kind of blend that in. And then I'm going to go kind of create like an eyebrowish shape. Oh yes, love that. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So kind of smoothing it in, creating an eyebrowish shape. Going up to those shadows. I like how those shadows are turning out. Now going away from the cheek. Might need to bring in more shadows. We'll see. Quick wispy motions. Remember, this is kind of a round cheek. And then we have side of the head turning over here. Now we're gonna go back over the edge, over our background. Might pick up a little bit of that color. That's okay, as long as your brush doesn't turn completely black, in which case you might have to wash it again. I'm gonna lift this up. Following this motion, try not to fill in all the great shadows you've made, or we might have to recreate them. I'm gonna mix a yellow and red to make a very light orange. Actually, I have it left over from up here. So I'm gonna bring in that light orange. And then I'm gonna wipe it off my brush and go for some more white. So first you have your light orange, then you're blending it with some white. And then I'm just gonna kind of wisp through, let's see, I'm gonna define maybe like the edge, the top edge of his eyebrows. And maybe just like a little bit under his hat. I'm thinking about where there could be highlights, right? Of the sun literally shining off of his fur. I was going to say skin. Fur. Let's bring a few through here. Let's just throw a couple in here. them nice and jolly. Maybe on his shoulder. Always going the direction of the fur. This also helps define his shoulder. Oh, I just made it a little bit bigger. I like that. Okay, let's just bring a little bit to the edge of his cheek. Some of this orange to the edge of his cheek. Defining his eye. Maybe a little bit of highlighting over here. Just a few little lines. Awesome. Now he is glowing. While we have this warm color on our brush, we're going to go ahead and go straight for red, and let's start filling in that hat. So let's just do the first layer. Don't even worry about it. You're going to pick up a little bit of black, yellow, all these colors. Let's just get that thing red. Then we'll worry about layering it up. So red all the way around. We basically have three sections. We have the tail right here. We have the back of the hat. That's kind of a continuation of the tail. And then we have the front of the hat, which is this section. Three sections of the red part of the hat. Oh, I want to make sure there's no white or yellow on the edge of my polar bear. Okay, now let's go ahead and do this section right here. Shadowing your hat. Let's mix some black with some red to make kind of a maroon color. Black is stronger than red, so just the tiniest bit of black will go a long, long ways. Try not to mix in any white or it will start to look a little kind of gray purpley, okay? Now with this color, we're gonna kind of just outline the edges of this hat. On the far side, I'm just gonna outline very, very thin as my fat brush will allow me to. Perfect. But on this side, because it's behind that bear, I'm actually going to go pretty thick. So what would I call that? Let's see. It's almost like a long, acute triangle. Effect of it going backwards, the shadow. Then I'm going to bring that shadow behind the ear. So continue that. And you know what? That's a good reference point for this triangle. You can start the triangle at the edge of the ear and following it down nice and thin. Go ahead and follow around the edge of the ear. And then we're going to create another triangle. This triangle is how the hat is turning. So go to the bottom of the ear and then follow the same curve that that rim of the hat has, the fluffy part. And we'll just bring that out. Do that, we're going to go back to our second brush, the thin brush, and let's work a little bit on that nose. So let's go ahead and create, first we'll start by just outlining the shape you had before. If you can still see it, we had the low kind of rainbow down here. And then bringing it down on each side. On the left, it's closer to the edge. And for now, just fill that whole thing in with this black color that you have. Goes a little flat towards the bottom. Making sure that the top is nice and even. Sometimes it helps to step back. Bringing it down. Bringing it in. Nice. It's going to be a rather large nose, and we're going to add some dimension to it. So the thing about noses, you can always make it bigger. It's next to impossible to make it smaller because you have to cover up that black. There we go. Let's go ahead while we have this black and just put the tiniest little bit. If you have black on your brush but it's somewhat dry, you can kind of just wisp in a little bit in the center here. Nice. Now I think that ear is done. I like the ear. While I have this black, I'm also going to go inside my triangle, the red-black triangle, and I'm just going to add another triangle inside that, barely following the edge of the ear. That's darker. Yep, just like that. Follow the edge of the ear and then add that triangle on the top. Excellent. Adding the eyes. We're following the shapes we created already, but we want to leave a little bit of that shadow, right? Almost the eyelid. So I'm going to start by making 2 rainbows. I'll make a rainbow on this side. And a rainbow here on this side. Now notice how this rainbow is slightly angled and below, and that's because of the turn of the bear's head. I'm also going to, here, come on in close. I'm also going to kind of see how I've flared out the edges, so even though it's a rainbow, it kind of flattens out on the edge. Like that. I'll do the same thing over here. And over here, this one will be a little bit smaller. Not a ton smaller, but a little bit. There we go. Our hat should be tacky, not dry, but not so wet, tacky. So I'm switching this brush back to this brush, back to the big flat red brush. And we're gonna mix a little bit of red with yellow to get kind of an orange color again. This is a deeper orange because this is for the hat. I like my plate. And then with this orange, I'm gonna put a second layer on in all the center areas, but this is a quick motion, kind of similar to what we did on the bear, because we're making the hat kind of fuzzy. And I'm not trying to cover up all of the hat, all of the red parts from before. I just want to add some more depth to it. Now, if a little bit of red and black get pushed around, that's great. But if everything's smearing, then you might want to wait, walk away, get a cup of tea, come on back. So I'm just filling in, nice. Excellent. Just some of that red, orange. Okay. Now I'm going to use the corner of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of dab in some oranges and some yellows, just like some speckles to make it fluffy. Fluffy. You can also, if it makes you nervous trying to use just the corner, you can also just get a smaller brush. Third brush, last brush, it's exactly the same as the black one, only I don't want to wash the black one because I still want to use it for black, but I'm going to use this one for white. Let's go ahead and mix in a little bit of that blue. Blue, maybe with a hint of purple to it. And we'll just go ahead and use some of that blue. And what we're doing is we're just trying to deposit a little bit of blue on that brush so that we can use it for white and have some beautiful show through. And again, I'm making my ball the ball on my hat into a swirl over here. Okay, now that I have blue on my brush, I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'm trying to make it fuzzy, fuzzy. And I'm filling it in with pure white, going all the way up to my shadows, filling in any yellow. We do want little tiny lines showing through of that blue that we had on there though. It's up to you if you want to make this a fluffy hat like this or if you want to make it a sleek hat. All the way across. Definitely want it to be pretty white over here because this is where the sun is shining in. Quick little lines, perfect. There's no reason to spend a lot of time on this part. So we're done. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the ball. So we want to embrace that spiral. So when I fill it in, I'm gonna fill it in a spiral motion with my brush. And I'm going to leave a little bit of show through of the spiral. Yeah, nice. I love it. Okay, last part on this is these ears. Now, because we already did the hat, you can either redo the hat or you can be really careful that at the bottom you're flat. So you want to be perfectly flat right there. Bring it all the way around. There we go. They don't have to be identical, but they do want to be similar enough that nobody notices. Ideally, nobody notices the ears at all. That would be perfect. While I have this beautiful blue one here, I'm going to add just a little bit more to our swirl. Just because I want to. You don't have to. Let's go for that nose. So mixing a light blue, we just want to create a shallow rainbow all the way across the nose. Just like that. You know what? I'm going to bring you in. So that light blue, I'm just going to show you one more time up close. Just a shallow rainbow across the top. Then with the same light blue color, I'm going to create kind of like a W. I'm going to go down in the center and then over. And what we're doing is we're outlining the nostrils where we want the nostrils to be. And this one I'm going to kind of blend in the edges so it disappears. Now I'm going to take pure white and I'm going to go right over just the right side, just a thin little line. And then we're going to outline just a dot in here and the edge. Let's pull it back. We have a nose. Time for the mouth. With the same round brush that we used for black, we're going to go center the nose slightly over to the left. And we're going to do a line straight down. Now this is the shadow underneath, so we do not want to go that far. We're just going a tiny bit down. I'm going to smooth out where it connects. And then we want him to be smiling, so I'm going to angle down for just a little bit, and then we're going to go right back up. And we're going to go almost to the edge. And now that final line right here hugs the shadow. Can you see that? Come on in. That final line hugs the shadow. So we'll do the same thing over here, but this one's going to be quite a bit bigger. So I'm following that line down, but then I'm going to go out to the side quite a bit. Whoosh, all the way to that shadow. And now I'm going to curve up, following that shadow. Just like that. And then I want him to smile, so I'm going to curve it up even more like this. Now he's a happy guy. Okay, and then we're going to connect the two, the little mouth. Go ahead and color that in. We're going to add a little bit of white and just a thin line above the bottom. Just like that. Okay, very, very last step. We're actually going to flip over our brush. I'm going to use the back of my brush. I'm going to dip it in white, and we're going to add reflection. Friends, you did it. Ta-da.